This episode is brought to you by Monkey Nutrition. Can you just talk about how a leaderless movement works, or why is that
Let's
necessary?
define the term leader.
Okay.
In fact, my friend Jen Wilding, one of the coordinators in the U.S., she made a great point, is that a leader is simply about going first. A leader is having the courage to do something and give others the courage to follow. Not follow in the sense that blindly go and do whatever you're doing, whatever you say, but when you go first in some type of activism, just like Occupy, what happened? Somebody went forward and published an article, a very controversial one, about this little gathering that was going to happen in downtown New York. And it went first, and it clicked something in people's minds, like, okay, I could identify with that, and boom, Occupy.
Right.
Look at all the uprisings. They happen from small little exertions of energy, where someone, just like Zeitgeist, I made a little movie, it wasn't even intended to be a movie, boom, sparks all of this stuff. So someone goes first, whether verdant or not. And that's what a leader really is. The idea of a leader, though, in a traditional sense, is a president, where you listen to everything the president says, and
right.
you assume that they know what's best.
Right.
And that's dangerous. That's what dictators do. I mean, you can't... If you want a society that's really free, you want a society where people know what's happening and you want people to know what's happening, then generally people need to understand all the facets of their environment and the system that they live in. In this society, they don't want, and I say they not in the sense of conspiracy, but those that do reach the higher echelons of political and wealth gain, the last thing they want is an educated public by default. It's not to say, again, it's not a conspiracy. That's just the last thing that's needed, because there's so much foul play in this system. There's so much structural rigging in this system that if people really knew what was happening, there would be an uprising overnight. So the leaderless concept means that, yes, you go first and you try to get people to step up and do what they can and initiate new projects, but don't sit there and assume that someone's going to tell you what to do at any point. You have to learn that for yourself. I firmly believe that everyone in their basic intelligence has the capability to understand the fundamentals of what's happening in their environment. I don't think it's an elitist mental thing where you have to be just so smart. That's not true.
Do you think it's lazy for us humans to try to sit back and to be like, oh, what does Peter think we should do now? What does Peter think we should do now? Is that ultimately not being self-sufficient or being a self-starter?
Well, there's also one angle to it, that's what you just brought up, and that's the idea of expertise, specialization. Obviously, I go to a dentist, and the dentist is specialized in what they do. So I trust their leadership, even though they're not really forcing me to do particularly anything except open my mouth, but I trust their expertise. If I was to engage industrial design, I wouldn't want to do that. I don't know, have the experience or the education to do that. If I had the principles for it, I would present those and I would go to somebody who's an expert in that field. That's the nature of specialization in human development. So, when you ask people for advice, that's simply part of the learning process.
This week on London Real, we're taking you back to our 2012 interview with futurist Jacques Fresco.
We must eventually design a language that's not subject to interpretation. Whenever you talk to people, you think you're talking to people. It goes in their ear and comes out in relation to their background. They don't hear exactly what you say. There is no way you can think outside of your culture.
What if we elected you president this year and you started in the Oval Office January 20th, 2013?
I'd be shot in 3 days. Who makes the decisions in the Venus Project? The answer, nobody. They arrive at them. We abolish all separate nations because they're all corrupt.
Jacques Fresco has been designing cities of the future.
What do you think of England and London?
Foul, awful, no city planning. All cultures are corrupt.
And the banking system, what will we do with
Bank
that?
it gone, no money anymore.
On Sunday, London Real presents Jacques Fresco, The Venus Project, Redux.
Most politicians know nothing. Please don't take my word for it. Ask them.